Business is more than grinding to get it done. It's people, process, and payroll done right. It's protecting your team, leveraging every penny out of every dollar to build and grow. From HR to insurance, from strategy to scale. We give you the playbook so you don't have to figure it out the hard way. This is the PEO Playbook, hosted by Filley with Staff Brokers Inc. Get valuable insights and learn to grow your team without HR headaches. Let's get started.
Welcome back to the PEO Playbook podcast. I am Filley with Staff Brokers, here to talk about all things PEO, Professional Employer Organization. Today, we wanted to touch on, a big function of PEO is providing the work comp and efficient claims management. So I want to kind of have some quick ins and outs about PEOs and how they help businesses and that. So I've had my first work comp claim as a client. Now what do I do? As you get started up in the PEO process, you'll get a plethora of information from them as far as not addition to just work comp posters and required postings that need to be out there for your business, for your employees to see, but a process and procedure to follow should somebody get hurt. Recommended vendors and providers, urgent cares, hospitals, where they would prefer you to go. But let me put it out there first and foremost. If you have an injured employee and they get hurt and it is severe, you get them to the first place that you can get them to that is going to take care of them. Just because you have recommended vendors and providers does not mean that is the only place that you can take somebody from a work comp point of view. If they need immediate care, that is what the PEO is going to want, as well as you as the business owner, to make sure that the employee is okay. In general, take them to wherever it is that they need immediate care. If it's a crisis, get that handled first, and then immediately you want to go and you want to report your claim to your PEO, let them know who the employee is, where you took them, the basics of what's going on. In an ideal world, they're going to kind of take it from there. You may have to field some questions as a business owner as far as what happened, when it happened, the time, all that kind of stuff in your base, which is beyond your basic reporting forms for the most part. Once you get it in, that is one of the big benefits of PEO, as far as once that claim is reported and the PEO is aware of it, they're going to do the most of the legwork from there. So ideally, the business owner gets to go back to working on what makes them money. Or in this case, they don't have an employee to replace the employee that just got hurt. They can go out and fill in the things and do the work that employee was going to do. The PEO will then handle the back and forth between the doctor's office, the insurance company, and as your PEO partner will deal and stand in your place as the employer of the employee to deal with all the policies and procedures of getting that employee back to work as fast as possible, whether that be on a light duty program or on or if they're hurt severely and they can't come back to work right away, they may sit out of work for a while. But the PEO is going to manage that and do the best they can to get them back to work as fast as possible to minimize the cost of the claim. Why and how is that advantageous to business owners? PEOs typically, especially some of the ones that deal more in the higher risk, they use their buying power to buy the work comp at lower rates. Typically, that means a large deductible. So any particular PEO may be on the hook for, say, the first $250,000 of any claim. Maybe $500,000, maybe $1 million, maybe higher. So it's in their best interest to get that claim closed as fast as possible, because that's money coming directly out of their pocket. Standard business owner doesn't have that kind of huge deductible, and you can kind of get lost in the management process. When you've got, you're on the hook for the first $1,000, the employee's being taken care of, his medical bills are paid, you kind of go back to work. PEO's got a lot more at risk because of the size of deductibles that they claim, gives them all the incentive in the world to manage the claim as effectively and efficiently as possible. They are a PEO. They are not technically an insurance company, so they fall under different tax laws. So just because they expect more cost to come from a claim doesn't mean that it's a write-off the same way it works in the standard insurance world. They have a little bit more, skin in the game. So they are there to make sure that everything is taken care of. So, situation happens, employee gets hurt, employer turns it in, reports what's there, may field some questions. Typically, he's just going to go back to work. Over the course of the next few days, weeks, or whatever it is, depending on the severity of the injury, the PEO is going to do all the back and forth between hospitals, doctors, follow-up doctors' appointments, keep the employer up to date as they would like to be as far as the ongoings with the injury and what's being taken care of, when they should expect that person back to work. They're also going to help that employer with preparing them for potential light duty. What things can this employee do to come back to work? The sooner they get back to work, even if they're doing light duty work, they are back at work. They're not being paid to sit at home. It does not hit the employer loss history in the exact same way as far as what their claims history is. Guide you through the process of, you can bring him back to work. No, if he's a $35 an hour electrician and now he has to file papers with one hand because of he cut his hand and has got some stitches in hand. No, you do not have to pay him $35 an hour in order to come back to work and file paperwork with one hand. So that's what they're there for, is to help walk you through the process. But ideally, they're doing the absolute best they can to limit the amount of time taken away from the owner being tied up with that injury and going the back and forth and making sure that employee's okay, allowing the business owner to go work on what makes them money. So from a claims point of view, that is the general process of how the PEO handles it. But the biggest thing is they're very good at it. The volume of employees that consistently people are getting injured across, a giant employee base. They're familiar with the timeframes, how to manage it, what to do. But the biggest thing they got is they have that huge deductible typically, or the large deductible that they're paying, that gives them all the incentive in the world to get that claim closed as fast as possible. And to touch on it, something they're very good at, sometimes claims happen and they're fraudulent. The employee goes home. They see, they see the commercial on TV about if you've been injured at work, blah, 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 by X whatever law firm, give us a call. Now an attorney's engaged. An attorney jumps into it. The PEO has the data and information available. They are unbiased. They're unbiased in the situation. They're going to do whatever it is that's going to claim that or close that claim as fast as possible. A lot of times, maybe the employer thinks that it's a fraudulent claim and the employee's not really as hurt as he says he was, or, hey, this employee's out hurt, says he can't work, but he's completely fine to ride his motorcycle around. Proving that you're right as an employer still costs you money, and it still shows up as part of your history when it comes to work comp claims. PEOs are very good at and have the data and the actuarial tables that show them, hey, we can probably fight and prove that you're right and this is fraudulent and that he doesn't deserve anything. But if it costs us $50,000 in attorney's fees to do it, we're better off just saying, hey, let's settle and give the guy $8,000 and let him be, and he goes away. You're not going to be able to employ the guy again because they're going to sign a release, but something that saves employers money in the long run, when they would have a genuine gripe against an employee where they're wanting to go after them and prove that they are right. It's just not always the financially responsible thing to do for the business, just to prove that you were right. So they're very good at having an unbiased opinion. I said they're paying the first anywhere from $250 up to $2 million potentially, and potentially even larger. If every claim it happens, it's straight money out of their pocket. They've got all the incentive in the world to make sure that it gets closed as fast as possible. So having a PEO partner in your corner, that's one huge advantage. In addition to, they're familiar with the claims process. They let the business owner get back to doing what makes them revenue and generates money for their business, rather than the business owners being stuck sitting there tied up, waiting on phone calls from the insurance company, the doctor's office, the hospital, whoever, trying to schedule future appointments. PEO does that. The business owner goes on to do what it is they got into business to do. So that is the general kind of claims process and how it works and what to do should you have your first work comp claim. Hopefully you invest in safety and that's not an issue. But thanks for joining us on today's episode of the PEO Playbook podcast. You can reach out to us at PEOplaybook.com for any questions. Again, this is Chad Filley with Staff Brokers. Have a good day.
Thanks for tuning in to the PEO Playbook. where we help business owners unlock the power of PEOs and take their team to the next level. This episode was proudly brought to you by Legacy Sales Engineering. If you're ready to simplify HR, scale your business, and put the right team behind you, visit staffbroker.net to get started with Staff Brokers today.